Welcome, guys. You asked for a deep dive into the bike build, so here we are. I looked at a lot of options when I was thinking about getting a new race bike, and I ended up obviously with the Cervelo Soloist. And the question I ask myself now, after all the research I did and the decision I finally landed on, is the Cervelo Soloist the best amateur racing bike? Let's get into it. Where I started with mine was, I had a budget, and I figured the best way for me to go about a new race bike was to use the wheels that I already had. I was using the Hunt Aerodynamicist 4454s on my giant Defy, and just moving those over to a new frame set was going to be the cheapest way for me to upgrade my bike and get something that's really nice. Those wheels are great. They performed awesome. Moving from the stock giant wheels, which were alloy, really heavy, not aerodynamic wheels at all, to those Aerodynamicists was a huge improvement for me last season. So putting them on a new frame, just figured, could help even more. Now, along with the moving the wheel set over, there were a couple other things that I had to look into for the new bike. I needed to decide what group set I was going to go with. Now, I had mechanical Ultegra on my Defy, but I decided to switch it up. So there's kind of always the debate, Shimano or SRAM. What really first got me started thinking about SRAM, I definitely wanted to go electronic. That was a decision that kind of was a must for me. But when I was thinking about SRAM, I was already kind of in that system because I have a Hammerhead Karoo 2, which I absolutely love. And a few months back, Shimano pulled the workability with the Hammerhead because SRAM bought Hammerhead. And that just kind of upset me. I was in the Shimano world, but jumping to electronic, it's pretty much a completely different group set. So there's, you would have to buy more cassettes and things. It's not really as compatible as, switching from, say, 105 to Ultegra, if you're staying mechanical or something like that. But when I kept looking into these, I also really like that SRAM is fully electronic, no wires, fully wireless. And just makes working on the bike a lot easier. You don't have to have that battery inside the frame. You don't have to fish the wires any more than just your brake cables. So makes things a little bit easier. And I really like the way that it shifts. It just seems more intuitive. It's just, right shift is harder gear. Left shift is an easier gear. Both of them changes the front derailleur, or you can even set it up so it will change the front derailleur when it needs to switch the front derailleur. There's not a lot of big hills around here, so I often don't find myself in the small ring. So I could set it up that way and just shift, easier when I need to. And if it gets to the point where it's got to go into the small ring, it's probably because I'm on a hill. So it'll just do that for me. But I'm going to have to play around with that, see if I actually like it. Yeah, I decided to go with SRAM, and Force just is a great price point. It's pretty much compared to Ultegra, but I also went with the older version. So they just came out with a brand new Force, and I was able to get this one at a big discount. So it just made sense. I mean, it works great. I mean, there's a couple of things that the new one has as far as the ergonomics of the shift levers, things like that, that are nice features to have, but this one's gonna work great. And so far I've had absolutely no issues with it. It shifts fantastic. So to save some money, and you could even pick up a pair probably used as people are wanting to upgrade to the new one. You can probably get it really cheap at this point. So that was why I went with SRAM. I also really like the battery style of the SRAM, just knowing that you can bring an extra battery if something happens. I mean, I hear a lot about people's Di2 dying, and there's, at that point, if you're in the middle of a race and your Di2 dies, you're shit out of luck. But SRAM, if you forget about it and your battery dies, just pop in a new one. So I'll always be keeping a spare on my bike, just in case. So after the group set, I'm thinking about the frame and what do I really want out of a bike. I want a nice race bike. The Defy is great for long rides, things like that. It's not super aerodynamic. It's relatively heavy. And it doesn't seem to transfer power quite the way you'd want when you know, or somebody's attacking and you want to get right on it, or you need to sprint, whatever. So I started looking to a lot of different bikes. I was looking again at Giant. I really love Giant's warranty program. I actually, if you look back on my videos, the first year of my racing, I crashed my Giant Defy, and they ended up giving me a brand new frame. And Scicluna Bike Shop actually rebuilt it and everything for me, all under warranty. I can't thank those guys enough. But they have a 2-year, no questions asked. You crash, break your carbon components, they'll replace it under warranty. So that's pretty amazing. And so I originally started my looking at the new Giant Propel, and that looks like a fantastic bike. The only problem was, again, I had talked about how I wanted to move my wheel set over to save some money, and currently Giant does not sell that Propel as just a frame set. Honestly, if they did, I probably would be making a video about a Giant Propel right now. Unfortunately, they don't. So I started looking at other bikes. I looked at, Specialized Tarmacs. The price point with the Specialized bikes is just so much higher. I don't think you really get quite the value for money. So I'd be looking at either an SL6 or a used. So that's definitely a route, though. You could even do an LA Sprint. Those are great bikes. It's just aluminum. They're going to be a little bit heavier. If you're doing just crit races, then that might be the bike for you. I really wanted something that was pretty much as all around as you can get. So I wanted something that's aerodynamic. I wanted something that was relatively light. I'm not that light, so climbing is never going to be a specialty of mine. I don't need a climbing bike. There's also not a lot of hills out here that are gonna last more than 3 minutes, so it just wasn't something that was paramount to what I was looking for in a bike. I looked at the Cannondales, and I mean, those are all good bikes. There's just felt like the Soloist, first of all, it looks great, but the price point was great, and it's a new bike, and it just seems like it's really built for exactly the type of rider that I am and the type of riding that I plan on doing. And some of that comes down to the usability, the ease of maintenance, and I can get into that a little bit. Some of the cool features that this bike has are, it's basically semi-integrated brake cables. So there's a little clip under the stem that guides the wires, but you can access them super easily. So you could change bars, you can change stems, and you don't have to take off take the entire bike apart. If you're traveling with your bike, you can much more easily take off the bars and pack in a smaller bike bag. The bottom bracket is a thread-in style. It's their it's a special BB Wright 47 B or A. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I forget. But it just makes it easier to work on. I don't have press fit tools. The Soloist tries to fit between the S5, which is Cervelo's pure race bike, super aerodynamic, but also very heavy. It's what you see Jumbo Visma riding in the World Tour. And then their R5, which is their climbing bike. Jumbo Visma also will ride that. But again, I don't need a climbing bike. And the S5 is gorgeous, but it's also way out of my price point. I do like that they just have these 3 bikes now when you're talking race bikes, and you're not doing S4s, you're not doing different tiers within. It's just, it just makes the decision a lot more simple. But the Soloist is more aerodynamic than the R5. It's technically lighter than the S5. Yes, my build is not lighter than what you're going to get on an S5, because you're probably, if you're putting the money down for an S5, you're probably going to put SRAM Red or Shimano Dura-Ace on it, and that build may end up being lighter than my bike. But frame for frame, the Soloist is lighter than the S5. But again, for the amateur racing that I'm doing, I don't really want to have a frame that costs $9,000, and if I were to crash, I would have to pay to replace that, and I just don't have it in the budget, and I think it's a little overkill for a Cat 4 rider. Hopefully I'll be upgrading soon, but it's just seems like it's a little too much. The other thing you may want to keep in the back of your mind when you're searching for a new bike, one bike I did kind of consider was the Canyon Aero Road, and that bike looks great. It seems like it's, people that have it are super happy. The reason I didn't go with that is because I think it's really important, especially as an amateur bike racer, to support your local bike shop. Now, if you're not racing, if you're in a remote area and you just ride a lot and, you don't interact with other cyclists, then that's fine. I mean, get a Canyon. I have a Canyon Grail that I really like. I got it because it was one of the few bikes that was in stock during the pandemic. I would have liked to have shopped local, but when you're in the race scene, you end up meeting a lot of people, and a lot of the bike shop people are on race teams and they're racing with you, and you're going to want to go in for repairs, and you're going to want to go in for parts, and you're going to want a tune-up before race season. And when you're showing up at a place that you supported by buying a bike, they're going to help you out. And again, you're racing with these people, and if you go down on a crash and you need, a quick repair, a quick turnaround because you've got another race the next day, these guys are going to help you out. And, if you buy a Canyon, again, they're good bikes, but you just are not going to get that service. And if you have to go warranty on one of those, you're putting it in a box, you're shipping it away, you're going to be without a bike for a long time. And I don't know if one of those bike shop guys is going to loan you a bike when you haven't even bought anything from them, but I can tell you they are really going to help you out if you buy from them. So doesn't matter which shop, find a bike that you really like, go test ride at a bunch of different shops. I've tried to support as many bike shops as I can in my area. I mean, if you're from the Buffalo area, I bought my Defy from Chicluna Bike Shop. Those guys are awesome. I live right by them. I just bought some. I've bought a couple pairs of Lake shoes from Handlebars. I'm kind of between those two bike shops where I live. Campus Wheelworks, I've gone there for a bike fit. Bought the Cervelo from Love and Sprockets. I've bought a helmet from Tom's Pro Bike. I mean, there's so many bike shops around. They're all great, really great people, and they can help you out. So support local if you can, and they'll help you out. So let's talk about a couple of little features that are not as noticeable on this bike. So I decided to, I'm going from ground up build here. I decided to go with ceramic bottom bracket from Kogel. I was able to get those in a package that was a really good deal on Black Friday. So I was able to get the bottom bracket. I got the bottle cages, super light cages. They're really cool looking. And then I also got the jockey wheels with ceramic bearings. So that's a fun little bonus for the bike, and something you can't really tell, but hopefully it'll give me a little bit of free speed. I went with a Celitalia Boost SLR saddle after I've tried so many saddles in the past, and I've always had issues as far as either numbness or saddle sores, and turned out that I really needed something that had a kind of a gradual angle to it. Like if you think about the Specialized Power saddle, it's very wide and it just kind of has like more of a sharp edge, whereas the SLR has a very smooth transition. So it's been great so far. And the one thing I was a little concerned about is because of the race videos that I make, I liked the Power saddle had a point where I could attach a bracket to hang my GoPro, but the Cervelo Soloist actually came with a special bracket that you put on the saddle rail clamp that you can hook the GoPro mounts to. So then you don't actually have to hang anything off your saddle other than maybe a saddle bag, which I obviously do if I'm not racing. But that was a really nice feature that I didn't even know that the Soloist had, and allowed me to use this saddle, which I'm now in love with. And then as far as bars, I really liked that I wasn't doing the stock build, because I find that the bars are too wide on all of the standard bikes. If you were to buy it as a complete bike from Cervelo, they all come with 42s. I wanted something a little bit smaller. I went with 40s. I went with Easton carbon aero drop bars, and they're great. They're light. I mean, they're very similar to, every brand pretty much has one that's like this. I was actually originally going to go with the Zips, but they're more expensive and they ended up being out of stock. So we went the Eastons, and I love them so far. But I'm really happy that I went down to the 40s, because I can tell the difference between my Defy and this, just being that my shoulders don't feel as cramped, and my wrists don't seem to fold in as much as they do on the Defy. I also kind of tilt my shifters in a little bit, which also helps, so I can get that nice aerodynamic position and not feel too cramped in the shoulders. So one piece of advice also, if you have a brand new bike and you are going to make a video of it or take some pictures of it, maybe don't do it on a not super stable stand on a windy day, because you may have the bike tip over and get a couple of scratches on your brand new group set. And I did that, and I'm an idiot, but now hopefully you will learn. Just wait for a day that is not windy. I really wanted to get this video out, and this is like the one sunny day that I'll have a chance to do it. So it is what it is. But hey, why don't you hit that like and subscribe button and show me, that you care and that I didn't scratch my group set in vain. Luckily, the frame is completely fine, and all the scratches are just superficial. Got that first scratch out of the way, so when I'm racing, I don't have to worry too much and think about my precious bike. So that's it. I absolutely love this bike. I'm going to spend some more time in the saddle, and if you want, I can actually give more of a ride review at some point. Leave it in the comments if you'd like something like that. This is really just more of a build overview, why I chose this bike, and do you agree? Do you think that it's purpose built for an amateur bike racer? I personally think that right now, for the price, the value for money, the ease of maintenance, I don't think that there's another bike that checks all the boxes for that amateur bike racer who wants one do-it-all bike. But leave it in the comments if you think there's a better bike. Everyone's got their own opinions. But this is my Cervelo Soloist, and hopefully you guys like it. And I'll see you out there.